everybody. This is my mind in the working because, it's technically 3 minutes after 11. I'm kind of late, but, that's how consequences are. Okay, so today I have a topic that I'm going to be talking about, and I'm so excited about because if you have been listening to my shows in the past, I am an education major, specifically early education, and today I really felt like there's a lot to be said about the education system these days, or the teachers that we've had in the past. And the reason I said because different definitions, but okay. Is because I have one of my guests with me who, if you've heard our show last time, me and my friend, we were talking about things that we thought that were real when we were younger, but what wasn't. And so today I have her sister with me. And before I introduce her and we start roasting I just had a brain fart for a second. And before we roast the school system and what we believe about it. Perfect. Now, I'd like to introduce my guest who, in fact, is in high school. So it's a perfect topic to talk about. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is BK. I am a sophomore in high school.
Which doesn't look like it.
Yeah, so I'm 16. So I think I'm a pretty credible source when it comes to talking about high school teachers and the environment, everything going on there.
Yeah, I have to cite her, yes. So I'll just say right now, I've known you for such a long time, and I don't think you don't. I feel like you've been a sophomore for like 3 years. Like,
that's true. Everyone has always thought that I'm a lot older than I actually am.
Well, not only that, but like I feel like you were a sophomore last year, so I was like, why are you a sophomore this year too? What's going on here? Okay, so you've had some teachers before, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I do have some questions to ask you that has to do with the educational system that we have, because coming from a person who's in college right now, it's pretty disgusting, I would say.
I mean, there are certain aspects of high school that kind of suck, but altogether, it's not that bad of an experience.
Okay. In that case, we'll be testing that through those questions. So I think the first thing I asked you beforehand, so that you don't get stuck here for like hours trying to think of it, is think of your best teacher. Like right now, just think of your best teacher you've ever had. Okay. Like something that you would, like a teacher that you would take again because you just love them so much. Mm-hmm. Okay. Tell me, why did you think they were a good teacher?
Okay, so I have two teachers in mind, but probably the first person who came to my mind was my algebra teacher in 8th grade.
That's so weird because for me, my worst and best are both math teachers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that says about the teachers.
Not only did I just love math at the time, but he was just such a good teacher in the sense that he treated us a lot older than we were at the time. And not only was it just a really fun class, but he taught in a way that was like, it helped everyone. And like if there was someone who needed help with one specific thing, like he would focus on them. And then if there was someone who needed help on like another aspect, like one person who had problems with word problems, he'd sit down with them and he'd be like, okay, like we're gonna work on this together. And then if there was another person who just needed help with like a specific like equation, he would sit down and he'd like work with them. And he was really able to like tailor himself to each individual person. Mm-hmm. So it was really helpful in that sense. I think also like he didn't just teach us algebra. He taught us a lot about like life and manners, and like we would once a week we would just sit and talk about like life. And he would teach us just like basic things that he thought that everyone should be taught. Like he taught us how to like properly eat dinner with someone. And I thought like, at the time I was 14, so I was like, oh, this is so not important, but it's like such an important thing to know. He taught us about like just being respectful to ourselves and to other people.
Wow, like when it comes to dinner, I mean,
like it just little thing. He taught us how to like properly pick up a phone and answer it, which is like really,
oh my God,
it's a really weird thing to think about. That
I've
like
never
my
heard of a
algebra
teacher say that.
and my algebra teacher used to sit down and just teach us about it, and we would have like really funny discussions, and then we would also have serious discussions, and it was just really powerful to like hear from like an older person that like, okay, I'm just gonna teach you things that like everyone in life should know, and there are some people that never are taught these things and they just kind of have to pick them up. So it really came across as like, oh, this person really cares about us.
Yeah. And what about like, for example, when you're learning your lessons and it came to like a review, did he do anything for reviews?
He was very helpful when it came to review. He kind of emphasized the idea that like when he was in 8th grade, he was taking the same exact math class and he failed it. So he knew exactly what to do to like help us. Like he'd be like, okay guys, like you better have a binder because like, I didn't have a binder in 8th grade and it didn't help me. Like he really emphasized this idea. And so when it came to review, he was like, okay, so let me teach you about the ways that I used to study and how it helped me kind of like at first I failed this class, so how did I like bring my grades back up, stuff like that. So
that's good. See, I feel like teachers like them, like they care about whether the kids
they don't just care about like doing well in the class, like getting good grades. They care about like how you're gonna do in the future, like like little things like in life that
I don't know
important.
about you, but I've literally had so many teachers who were, when I tell them, oh, can I do this retake and stuff because I did really bad on this test, they end up telling me grades don't matter.
They're always like this isn't going to matter in the future. And it's like, okay, but how is that like going to prepare me in life, knowing that like, okay, this stuff that I'm doing right now doesn't matter.
Yeah, it frustrates me because like I care, like at least for me as someone who has like parents who like, oh, they strive for me to be the best and stuff.
Yeah.
The teachers don't know that, and they're not like, I feel like a good quality in a teacher in general is to be very like accepting on what the student goes through or like what expectations they have from like families and friends and stuff. So the fact that he goes like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, but like they proceed to not do anything to help you. Like they're just like, don't do a retake, you're good. C is good. I'm like, C is not
this
good.
is fine. Like this isn't gonna impact your life overall. And it's like, okay, but you should always push us to be the best we can. Okay, like the best I got was a B.
Because
but, like,
teachers like that are gonna make kids brush off like a
teachers
C
who
or
are
a
like,
D.
oh, your grade doesn't matter. Like in the end, like it doesn't matter if you get like an A or a B or a C. And it's like, but I'm gonna try to get the best I can, and that might not be like an A.
No, that is true. I feel like
you should still like emphasize that like you should be doing as good as you can.
And speaking of like teachers who what they should do or shouldn't do, what do you think what was the worst teacher you've ever had? You can think of them.
I could think of a couple teachers that like did some like things that I personally didn't like. There was this one teacher that I had last year that the thing about them was that they clearly did not know like what they were teaching, which is kind of an odd thing. But at my school specifically, they switch around the art teachers a lot. Like they'll get them to teach like random things, like even because they think that like, oh yeah, all the art teachers can teach all aspects of art. And so for graphic design, I had this one teacher, and she was a very sweet person. I'm gonna give her that. Like, she was very nice, and she was like an experienced person, but she just had no idea what she was teaching. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, twice a week, she would get up in front of the class and be like, okay, guys, so if you find something new online, like a new way to like do something on like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, like please share it with us. Like, if you find like a video and you think that's like helpful for everyone, like please share it with us. And she never helped us do anything. Like, when I used to go up and be like, oh yeah, can you help me? Can you show me how to do this like one specific thing? She'd be like, oh yeah, why don't you try looking it up online first and then show me if you like find something? And I'm
definitely,
like, but you're supposed to be teaching me how to do it. So
the thing is that's why I feel like the educational system these days is like blinded by technology, because
that's true.
Oh my god, here's the thing, like if there's more teachers that are like, oh, look it up online.
I think it's a very innovative thing to be able to use technology. It really like helps people learn, but at the same time we still need to be using like pen and pencil and paper.
I mean, it helps a lot too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love using like Microsoft Word. It's an absolute like lifesaver like for me, because spelling checks and everything, like even the spelling checks or the autocorrect that it does for me, like I learn from it.
Just in general, like technology is very useful, and like there are certain classes that I think should be more technology based, because that's like the world that we're going towards.
Like English or something. Like English class, but at the same time I feel like it's always important to balance like the writing with the hand and writing with the laptop, because I mean, at least in my middle school that I used to be in, and right now I went back to check on them, they all have iPads. I'm like, that's super,
I think it's
useless.
Like a good idea to like have iPads for like writing out or like drawing or something. Cause,
no,
like,
but for them, like they get like those documents, they have to just fill it out.
See, that's not helpful at all.
It's not helpful. And the thing is that back when I was in middle school, we had a good balance. Like we did both, writing out with hands and writing out. Now these days, there's no even papers. Like they're just doing everything on the iPad, which is not good.
My younger sister, you know her, she's in like 6th grade, and like her math class is more like technology based now. Like they do things online, and it's like I can't even imagine a math class where I don't have a pen and paper
that's
and I'm
true.
like really writing things out. Like if I'm not writing it out, how are you learning it? Like how do you understand like how to do something? I feel like there's that connection between your brain and your hand when you're like writing it out. And if she's just doing all of her homework online, it's like, how is she learning anything in that class?
Especially I feel like math, like okay, English you can write out and everything on Microsoft, doesn't matter, but when it comes to like math, you do have to write out, like it's very important to write out your work and stuff. Because my brother, I remember, he used to literally do math on a Word document. I'm like, that's disgusting. What are you doing?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. How are you able to like sit there like
that one I don't know.
Focus on what you're doing if you're just typing it out. Like it doesn't really.
It's bad. That's why it disgusts me when it comes to technology. But yeah, what else did your teacher do?
When it comes to writing, oh sorry.
That's okay, go on.
When it comes to writing, I think you just said that you wanted English to be more technology based. I personally disagree. I think that we should be writing more like on paper. And obviously there are going to be more mistakes made, but it's more helpful for you to like recognize those mistakes than have to be like, okay, like Word will just check it for me. Like I'll just go back.
When it comes to like, for example, like things like 5-page papers, I believe it should be technology based. But when it comes to other things, like definitely write out. Yeah, that makes sense. Because you do need to improve your handwriting.
Because it improves your handwriting. Like I feel like I catch my mistakes a lot faster if I'm writing them, because then I'll right away like realize like, oh yeah, I just spelled this word wrong. Like let me just go check it.
And since I've been growing up in like a generation where technology is getting bigger and bigger, for me, like at least when taking notes, I prefer to use my laptop, because when I'm using my hand, like I'm just focused on getting a good handwriting, a clear one. Because if I write it with my hands, my handwriting is really disgusting, by the way. So like I can't understand what I wrote, so I can't. No, honey. But like that's why I always use my laptop for that. But I do notice a lot of people prefer still like to write with their hands because they understand it better.
Yeah,
like
I personally sometimes I'll write notes like online, like if it's a lot of notes, but other times I want to be able to write it with my hand because I know that I'm picking up like only the essential information.
That is true.
And there are studies on that, so.
So what else did your bad teachers do?
One of my teachers, she is a very smart person. I currently have this teacher. And, you know, she is a very smart person. Like, she has proved that to us. But I feel like she doesn't really have too much of a connection with her students. And that's such a key thing that, like, people overlook. Because a lot of kids, when they aren't doing too well in a class, they just quickly jump to the conclusion that like, oh, this teacher doesn't like me. Like, oh, this teacher, like I hate the way this teacher teaches. They're not, you know, they don't focus on me. Like I don't like it because I'm not learning anything. And it's like, you know, that's only ever partially true. A teacher doesn't ever completely hate a student, I don't think. And it does have to do a lot with like the connection that you have with your teacher. Obviously, I'm not saying that you should like be best friends with this teacher, but you should at least like understand where they're coming from.
I mean, at least for me, like my professors who have been telling me like advice on like what's it called? Like if I'm gonna be a teacher in the future, don't be best friends with the student.
I know, but at the same time, you should like have like a connection with them.
Connection is super, super duper important.
It's so important because like, you know, like going back to my favorite teacher at the time, like it was so important that like he sat there and he really took the time to like teach us important lessons and like be connected to our classroom and like our teachers and like understand like their lives as opposed to ours. And so this teacher specifically, I feel like maybe she does have connections with like certain students and she feels like, you know, like, oh, like these are some people that I focus on a lot more, but there are some students that she doesn't focus on at all and it's not really important or it's not really helpful to me that like she sits there and she works with like other students while other people are struggling in the class.
And I feel like one thing we need to keep in mind is that teachers have such a huge impact on students in general.
They do.
Like even that positive impact is like could help a student so much. Like for example, if a kid like is going through a lot of bad times, then they don't usually feel comfortable talking to their parents because their parents might be like, oh, it's just a phase. Oh, it's just you're just being lazy, for example. But instead, a teacher who has learned a lot of psychology or like attended school for it, they would, if the student would go to the teacher would give such good advice and like would help them.
The teacher has obviously seen like plenty of different students and they understand like each person has like specific needs and stuff like that, so they could really focus on like each person and kind of like help them grow and recognize their issues and like tackle them.
Yeah. Do you think so? You do believe that teachers have a huge impact on students?
Yes, of course.
Which is why I think
a lot of people, like I said, like quickly jump that like when a teacher, they're not doing too well in a class, they're like, oh, this teacher hates me, like I'm not doing well in this class, but it's never that kind of situation.
And it's sad that like for me, my worst teacher is that what she did is that to like die down a little of the thing. I feel like in her classroom, it made me feel like the dumb person or like stupid.
Yeah, that's absolutely the worst.
Because she praised the smart kids, even though here's the thing. The way her class is arranged is that there's a bunch of like, there's 4 chairs grouped together. So it's like a group of people something. And there's a row of like 4 chairs, like of course in the front. So like group. And what she does in the beginning of each class is that she puts a problem on the board and then she counts down to 5 after, of course, a while for us to, solve it. And then after counting to 5, everyone who had the answer would run up to the board, and whoever reaches there first gets to write the answer. Now, the thing is that in marking period 1 and 3, she made us choose our seats, so all the smart kids would always choose to sit on the front. And coincidentally, the assigned seats that she does on 3 and 4, marking period 3 and 4, she makes them sit nearby the board. I don't know why. So them with like 100% grade are getting more extra credit, because if you get the right answer, you get extra credit. So they keep reaching there, and I was sitting at the back because I wasn't able to sit at the front, and it made me feel stupid. And the thing is that she was the type of teacher, which I'm pretty sure you've had at least once, where she basically makes a PowerPoint of all the lesson and just reads off the board. Doesn't even explain anything. Yeah. She just reads off the board, and that's it. And you can't even ask questions. She said, "Don't ask me questions. Ask your group." And I was like, "What if my group doesn't know anything?" I don't think I've ever had
a teacher who's like exactly like this.
Oh my
but
gosh,
I have
she was
had a
horrible.
teacher who like focuses a lot on like the smart kids, because she's like, "Oh yeah, these kids are actually learning. They're actually picking up what I'm saying." And she's not like focusing.
The smart kids know this.
Yeah,
probably.
The smart kids know, and she doesn't focus on like the kids that need a little bit more help in the class. And I think that's probably one of the worst kinds of teachers.
And it made me feel so stupid. I was like, I'm not dumb. It's just that she doesn't know how to teach. And the things that she retired 2 years after, so I don't know how she was teaching like for that long. She was still there. No offense. Yeah, we're not doing names, by the way, because we're like it defeats the purpose. But I feel like that class, even like when she told us like you're not allowed to ask me questions, you have to ask your group. I'm like, what if my group doesn't know the answer? She's like, well then look it up. I'm like, oh my god, this woman, I can't. Like, she was also really rude and everything. So like every time I enter that class, I would just get in such a bad mood, and I get so excited when the class ends. It's horrible. So that was our opinions on teachers, and I feel like I'm glad that you told me a lot of your opinions on this, because I do agree with everything. I do have a lot
of opinions on this, because everyone has an opinion on this.
I feel like a lot of people out there would agree with everything we're saying, because like teachers are just doing a really bad job, honestly. Well, not all of them. I think some of them I really do very much respect, because they do such a good job.
Teachers are very underappreciated.
Very underappreciated.
In today's society, especially.
Okay. So, there you go. And I'm sorry if you hear echoes. I'm trying to fix it, but it's not working. But whatever.
It's fine.
Echoes are great. It's a good sound effect. Not really. Okay. So, the next question I have is, do you think our schools are doing a bad job with teaching students?
Absolutely not. This is kind of a controversial topic right now, and I know that a lot of people are saying that they think high school is kind of a worthless thing, and that school in general, like, oh, you don't need school. But that's such a bad way, or that really reflects poorly on high schools, because they're so essential to our society right now, and they don't get as much credit as they should, like I said earlier. The thing about high schools is that people are like, oh yeah, like, why do I have to take 4 core subjects if I'm not going to do any of these things? And it's like, okay, but first of all, you have electives. And second of all, you learn what you like and you don't like. Like right now, I'm going through like a whole crisis where it's like, okay, I personally just don't really enjoy history that much. I'm not saying I don't do well in history. I just don't really think it's going to be something that I go into. But that's like a good thing, because now I can sit here and I know that like I don't think I'm going to be doing anything related to history. But it really prepares me for the fact that I'm going to have to deal with things in life that I don't really like.
That is true.
And so, but I know that like I want to go into something like science and math related. And so it prepares me well to know that like, okay, I'm going to focus on these things in high school, and then in college, I'm going to really decide like what is one thing that I want to specifically focus on. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, okay, so the reason I asked that, because I know your opinion's like that right now, but I half agree with you because of what I've learned later on. So this is the next thing, basically. Do you think it affects how some kids don't want to do work or don't enjoy coming to school, or possibly dropping out? And the reason I'm saying that is because, do you ever think about the idea that, it's not coming to me. Okay, wait. I literally just had it in my mind, but I suddenly just... Okay, what do you think about kids dropping out?
I think this is also very controversial, but I think kids who drop out are like, setting themselves up for like a bad future, which is also a very, very controversial thing, but like at least finish high school. Like, why is that such a bad thing? Like, there are so many different options after high school, but if you're in high school and you decide to drop out, like you see a lot in like the media right now that like a lot of people like drop out of high school.
To be a YouTuber.
You're kind of setting yourself up for like, are you actually ever, if you drop out at such a young age, it's going to be so difficult to go back to it.
School, exactly.
So even if you're like, okay, I want to go to college now, it's going to be so hard for you to go back to college if you didn't even finish high school. And like, a lot of people, especially that you see in the media, like on Instagram and on YouTube, when they drop out of high school, they're doing very well. Like they really are. Like they make a lot of money, and
but what if that fails? What
they're popular, but like that's not a long-term thing. Like you're not going to be a YouTuber or an Instagrammer forever. Yeah. Like, and it's kind of sad to see that like you actually just dropped out of high school because you thought like, oh yeah, I'm just literally going to be like an influencer for the rest of my life. Like I said, it's not a long-term thing.
Okay, so the reason I just remembered what I was talking about because we often discuss during my classes that during like my when you're learning and stuff, do you think that the fact that like specifically for teachers, when they're teaching the curriculum, they teach it in a way that like in this age you have to do this age, you have to learn this thing and this thing and that, and it's a lot of pressure on the student, so like they feel like learning is so like forced, and it seems like they're forced to come every single day. And I feel like if teachers make learning fun and something that could actually help.
Teachers are starting to move towards like more like active,
because they know that the dropout rate is getting increasingly bigger, and I feel like the idea that like if they made education and learning fun, then
jobs right now are requiring more than like high school. A lot, especially right now, like there have been like studies about how like if you want to get like a good job now, you're gonna need a lot more than a high school diploma. Mm-hmm. And it's reflecting kind of, or it's kind of bad for people who don't finish high school.
Yep.
Because they're not gonna, they're less likely to go to college. But in high school now, it's becoming so like academic, like rigorous, and it is like a very difficult thing to like keep up with all your work and stuff like that. But like in the future, it's actually really helpful, because if you're prepared for it at a young age, it's going to be easier for you when you get older. Mm-hmm. At least you know what's coming to you. And that's kind of another thing that like kids are always like, oh, I have so much work, it's so hard, like I can't believe like this is what my life is going to be like, I'm going to drop out of school, it's going to be so difficult. But it's like, this is what's happening right now, is that they're like testing you, like they're testing you for the future. So
yeah, I mean, I believe that too, but like in general, I feel like the education system it does a good job teaching, but it depends on the teacher to be able to.
It really does depend on the teacher.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to all the teachers who I've had who've made a huge impact on my life in general. So, because honestly, I would have not be wanting to become a teacher in general until like later, because it's just, I feel like the fact that there's dropping out rates doesn't mean that the student is lazy or anything. I feel like in general, I've experienced students who are like really bad at like, not bad, but like they show that they don't care about what they're learning, but then their attitude would change immediately when like the teacher is actually really good and like does a really huge positive impact.
It's a really sticky situation.
It is a very sticky situation.
Sticky.
That's why like I've seen like classmates who do better than me on a test because of like, what's it called? Because they like the teacher, they think, and every time they get a good grade, they're like, oh my god, look what I got, this is so cool. Yeah, and the teacher's like really happy about it, so yeah, that's why I feel like, yeah. Oh my god, I'm like, I can hear myself swallow. This is the content that you signed up for. ASMR. Oh my god, do you think I should do ASMR?
No.
No? I feel like
I won't listen to your show.
Can you just imagine people walking outside of the building and just hearing weird noises like, wait, I don't think I can, wait.
Stop, people.
That's a sound of metal just being hit. Okay, cool. So the next this is so weird. This is the next question. Let me just waddle. Okay. What are your opinions on homework? And do you think oh my god, I just lost myself. Oh my god, I literally lost myself. Okay. What are your opinions on homework, and do you think it's important, or are we better off without it?
Okay. So personally, I think homework is very important, because it really allows students to see how much they picked up after school. I'm not saying that students should sit there and have to finish every single answer or every single question on their homework and answer everything. And especially when it comes to something like math, you shouldn't have to sit there and be like, oh, I don't know how to do this, let me look it up. It's better when someone can sit there and explain it to you. So if you're struggling with something like, not just math, but if you're struggling with your homework, you shouldn't be forced to sit and finish all of it. Like, I know one of my teachers, if I didn't finish, or if I didn't answer one of the questions on my homework because I just didn't know how to do it, she would yell at me. She'd be like, oh, you need to get this done. Like, I'm not going to give you full credit. And it's not fair to students who don't understand what's happening, or they don't understand, like, a specific thing going on in the homework.
So do you think that, like, the idea that a teacher would be like, oh, you don't, like, if you submit late, I'll take points off? Or do you agree with the teacher who was like, as long as you hand it in, I don't care?
I think if someone is submitting it late and they actually just didn't do it on time, then they should get points taken off.
Because each person has an actual excuse. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I work or I have others.
Yeah.
Like, cause
but
I
if
feel
it's it's someone who like actually doesn't know what's going on in the homework and they really need to go back and like relearn the information, then they shouldn't be taking points off because I'm sitting and I'm putting in the effort to relearn this information.
because I feel like one part of the teacher who's supposed to be accepting of the students and whatever consequence they go through, I feel like they keep in mind that they have other courses that they're taking or classes. Like, and for them to keep in mind that like the reason they didn't do homework or didn't do much of it or didn't do good at it is because they
maybe
have
I'm
other
not
classes.
focusing this much attention on this specific homework because this is a class that I don't necessarily care that much about.
No, that is true. That is true. I feel that's why it's just in general, I really love when teachers don't like take points off of being late. Like I feel like as long as they do it, they do it. Like what if whatever they're doing takes a while? So like they don't know
especially homeworks that are very long and tedious.
Especially in like college. Oh my goodness. I see in the beginning of spring break, I had a homework assignment for each class. There's 2 tests, including those 5 assignments. So one of them was a take home, so whatever. And the other one I had to study for and I had to write papers. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So I had to lie myself to like my way through
finesse
my way through the homeworks. Yeah, it's bad. It's oh my god. And I feel like you're doing a really good job on telling me your side of it. Because even if we have different views, I'm not like cursing you out.
We do have
or
some
anything.
Different views, yeah.
Maybe because
it's good to hear different views.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like doing YouTube as like a hobby, but I don't want to drop out of school.
Yeah,
for
it's
doing
not
YouTube.
Yeah.
Young, Dumb, and Broke by Khalid. It's my request because we're young and we're dumb, but we're not broke because we're making those money. Okay, we're kidding. We're not doing that.
YouTube cash flow.
Actually,
YouTube coin.
Recently I got a job. I went to my job yesterday, and like the kids were like, "Oh my god!" I swear to God, the kids were literally as soon as I walk, because I work at a daycare now, and so the kids as soon as I walk in the room, they're all like, "Hi, my name is Kevin. Hi, my name is Jen. This is my dad's name, my mom's name. This is my favorite color." I was like, "Wow, this is too much information to capture." And by the way, as soon as I finished putting on the song, like Bayanne's just like, "I hate this song," so I'm exposing you at this point. Honestly, we're exposing teachers. We might as well expose the people that I get guests on, and I feel like you're never gonna come ever again because I'm exposing you. So, I'm sorry about that. And your mic is on. Good. Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. Cool. So, the next 2 questions I have, which we're running out of time. Oh my god, is do you have some sort of respect for teachers? And I feel like you've pointed out.
Yeah, I definitely have respect for teachers. I think I said this earlier. They're so underappreciated because they play such an important role in society. Because like the teacher is like the first person that the student learns from. Going into school. And so the thing about teachers is that they think like, oh yeah, teachers have weekends off. They have spring break, they have summer breaks off. But in reality, teachers work so much harder than like regular people. Like they're constantly working.
Teacher's good or not. If the teacher's bad, then like
teachers are working outside of school. They work late into the night. Like they're always trying to work, especially now with like kids who have like different learning requirements and they learn in like different ways. They have to adapt to each student and they have to like really focus on each one. And so it requires them to work much longer than outside of school, or much more than just in school. And that's something that's so overlooked. Like even over the summer, like yeah, teachers do have this great break, but they also are constantly thinking about like classrooms and they're grading homework assignments, and yeah, they're always trying to make their classroom and their teaching style better. I mean, at least a lot of teachers do that.
I've always appreciated teachers in general, again, the good teachers.
I always tell my teachers like as much as I can, like, I appreciate what you do. Like, your patience will always be more than mine will ever be. So, it's important that we let them know that, like, we appreciate what they're doing. Like, I love to go back to my old teachers and tell them, like, oh, yeah, like, I really appreciate what you did for me. I know that you think that I didn't pick up as much as I did.
Like, Teacher Appreciation Day. Do you guys have that?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, me and her are different schools. She's in Wissahickon, I'm in Upper Marion, so we have different views in general. But like for me, at least, I've seen a lot of
different
bad
environments.
Teachers.
Yeah,
different environments, exactly. And again, a teacher could have really good personality, so it can help a student mentally. But then they might not be much of a good teacher, which won't help them academically. But still, either way, it's better to have a teacher who's good at something and bad at something than the teacher's bad overall. Yeah, I would agree on that because I don't know, like. Teachers have such a big role, especially like when you think about the teachers who are teaching young kids. Like young kids have like a brain that's like ready to absorb anything. So it's just the fact that like young parents are giving like teacher. Oh my god, I'm getting brain fart. Parents are giving teachers like the biggest responsibility. Of,
parents
like, hey,
always
here's
like
my
to
children.
come to teachers like when their student or when their
Why
child
did they
isn't
have
doing
an
well.
A minus, not
Yeah,
an A
teachers
plus?
are
Like, oh my
parents are so
God.
quick to jump to teachers like,
Oh
you're
my
not teaching my
God.
child, and it's like that's not the
No
situation.
offense, but parents, oh my God, especially young kids. The young kids, because
Parents do play an important role because they do like I said earlier also like they push kids to be the best they can be, and that's an important thing. Like you shouldn't be pushing your kid to get perfect grades, but you should always encourage them like try as hard as you can. Like I'm not expecting you to be perfect, but you should always do as best as you can. It shouldn't be like you need to be perfect.
And it's crazy because I think younger teachers who teach like young kids deserve to get paid more because the kids are still like learning, so
They're
they'll
still
take in
developing.
anything. If someone the teacher accidentally curses in class by like one word, they absorb it immediately and they say it the next day.
And then parents
so,
are
like,
just so quick to come and like come at the teachers when it's
because,
like
I mean,
you don't
they're
understand that
concerned.
teachers they put so much effort into this class and they care a
That's
lot.
why I have so
really
much
a lot about how your child is going to grow
Exactly.
and what they're going to become in the future.
And that's why I have a lot of respect for like young teachers who teach young kids because young kids, like it's so important to keep them on their feet and like make sure they're acting right and everything. So yeah. And my last question is, what do you think about the subjects being taught to us? Do you think it's important or not?
Like I said earlier, I think that it is important that every child does have to learn every single subject, at least in up to high school, because it's important for you to know like specifically what you want. Like you should know what you like, you should know what you don't like. And people are always like, oh, I don't really like this subject. Like, why do I have to take it? Like, it's not important for me. And it's like, there's a reason that they set requirements in high school that you take each class at least once or however many times because
Honestly,
it helps you know what you want. They're always like, oh, you make me pick so young at like such a young age. Like, how am I supposed to know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And it's like, maybe if you were to focus on high school and you take not just core classes but you take those extracurriculars and like those elective classes, then you'll really understand like, okay, I really like this and I'm really good at it. Let me go into it in college. Like, and it's so important that you take the core classes and extra classes because it really helps you understand like what am I good at?
Because like when you think about it also, like for example, all your life, all you wanted to be, for example, is a math teacher and you're taking physics, you're like, oh, I don't want to take physics, I hate physics. But then what if in college you take a physics teacher, for example, who's a professor who is really good that you're like, wait, I don't want to be a math teacher, I want to involve some science in it, so I want to do physics. So like it might, like it prepares you for college because like college could actually change
It prepares you really well because you know what you want.
It repairs you. It fixes you. Prepare. Yeah. We're gonna pronounce words from now on. Just prepare. Yes.
Prepare.
Prepare. Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, in general, I feel like the school system just needs to make learning something that's helpful. Like, yes, we know that some students are really lazy these days and stuff, but in general, I feel like maybe they're lazy because they don't think that they're teaching it in a way that's actually like
effective.
Effective. They're like, oh, you have to do this quiz, you have to memorize, especially memorizing. I feel like memorizing is the worst type of teaching. As long as you like execute
memorizing
it.
is helpful to an extent because there are some things that you should have memorized. But then at the same time, when it comes to like the real world situation, like you're not gonna have to memorize it. Like you can look it up. And by the time you get to something that you're like specialized in, then you would have these things memorized.
No one's gonna threaten you to kill your family by being like, tell me the Pythagorean theorem. Like, no one's gonna say that.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Okay, sis. Okay, word flex, but okay. So, I feel like we ended off on an early note, and I feel like we've learned a lot, and I feel like, and I'm hoping you guys, understood everything. And you know what? I feel like if you have any experiences with worse teachers, and please don't mention names because this defeats their whole purpose. If you have anything to share about
if you think that you have the worst teacher in the world, just try to see them in like a better way. Like you,
and
like,
if you can't,
what are they going through?
Like
them. There's definitely one thing that you like about them, and you just haven't realized it or you haven't looked for it.
And it might help you like in parenting, even like to know how to interact with your kids in future. But and if you have any of those thoughts or any stories, then make sure you share it on my Facebook. It's My Mind Did the Working, and if you can't find it, then go to themoncaradio.com, go to schedules, you'll see mine's on Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Just click that and it'll take you to my Facebook page. So make sure you give it a like, and also write down any stories that you had of worst or good teachers.
Best worst teacher.
Yeah.
And how you think teachers can improve.
And hopefully
study skills, because I need that.
I need study skills. I'm so stupid. Okay, so we're gonna end up. This is the earliest we've ever ended off, which is really good. I need to start finishing earlier. So yeah, this is My Mind Is Working. Bayanne, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Please come again. I beg you. I need friends.
I'll come. Hopefully.
I'm gonna
I'll
drag
try.
you by your weave to get me
I
sure you
live
come
really
here.
close to here, so
Yeah, she lives like 8 minutes away. And
Not
I was
even,
Like,
like-
that's so unfair. I have to take a SEPTA bus all the way from here. Okay.
you can come over to my house.
Yeah. This is what she always texts me. She's like, "Come over." I swear to God, I'm like, I can't. Okay, so this is my mind of the working. Thank you guys for joining me, and I guess I'll see you
Hey
guys
there,
next week.
leaders.
I'm
It's
sorry.
your taco Hiba.
Oh my God, stop. It was my old channel intro. That was disgusting. Okay, and I'm sorry I didn't come last week. I'll try to come as much as possible, but maybe next semester, and end of the year, I might change my schedule because of like classes. Actually, not really. Actually, I managed to get never mind. It's gonna still be Tuesdays.
Hiba, you're confusing them.
I'm confusing myself too. Okay, I will see you guys next week. This is my mind in the working.